Good evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. Typhoon Opong and the southwest monsoon or habagat made for a disastrous combination. The weather systems are still bringing moderate to intense rains and raging winds to many parts of Luzon and the Visayas.
The Justice Department has sought assistance from Interpol to track down Congressman Zaldy Co's movements, while the House leadership has told the lawmaker to turn up in 3 days or face legal or disciplinary actions.
And how far has government's fact-finding panel gone in its flood control probe? Later, we speak to Independent Commission for Infrastructure Executive Director Attorney Brian Hosaka. Opong is back over the water after it crossed Philippine landmass and made landfall 6 times. At first, it landed in San Policarpio, Eastern Samar on Thursday midnight, but not before it intensified into a typhoon. That contact caused Opong to weaken into a severe tropical storm before it made landfall in Masbate twice, then in 2 towns in Romblon, and lastly in Mansalay, Oriental Mindoro before noon this Friday. Opong's last recorded location was over the coastal waters of Santa Cruz, Occidental Mindoro. Signal number 3 is still up over Occidental Mindoro and Calamian Islands, while the following areas are still under signal number 2. The southern portion of Cavite, Batangas, Marinduque, Oriental Mindoro, western portion of Romblon, Cuyo Islands, and the extreme northern portion of mainland Palawan.
Meantime, Metro Manila is still under signal number 1, along with Pangasinan, the southern portion of Aurora, Nueva Ecija, Tarlac, Zambales, Bataan, Pampanga, Bulacan, Rizal, the rest of Cavite, Laguna, Quezon, Camarines Provinces, Catanduanes, Albay, Sorsogon, Masbate, the rest of Romblon, and the northern portion of mainland Palawan. In the Visayas, signal number 1 is still hoisted over Aklan, Antique, Capiz, Iloilo, Guimaras, the northern portion of Negros Occidental, and the Bantayan Islands.
Now let's get more updates on the weather with News 5's weather frontliner Alvin Pura. Alvin, 16 years to the day that Typhoon Ondoy struck. So, kamusta naman ang Opong kung ikukumpara mo kay Ondoy?
Yes, good evening, Ma'am Ces at Sean. Yung bagyong Ondoy, which is nagdala ng napakaraming ulan sa Metro Manila, is magkaiba po ng track compared dito sa bagyong Opong. So, mas naging delikado yung Ondoy dahil nangyari noon, isa taas siya ng Manila dumaan. And then, aside from doon sa direct effect ng Ondoy, mostly yung concentration ng ating mga pagulan, if ever ganitong panahon ng habagat, is nasa baba usually ng bagyo. So nung dumaan yung Ondoy sa itaas ng Metro Manila, yung ulan ng Ondoy plus yung ating habagat ang nagdala ng malawakang pagbaha at pagulan sa Metro Manila. In this case naman, nasa baba natin yung bagyong Opong, which is napaganda po sa Metro Manila. Aside from dun sa pagbilis niya ng pagkilos, nasa baba yung bagyo nating si Opong, yung ating concentration ng mga pagulan, kahit mapapansin nyo dito sa ating satellite image, is nandun pa rin sa southwestern periphery ng ating bagyo, which is nandun kasi yung ating southwest monsoon o yung moisture natin. So, dyan ang gagaling. Yung bagyong Opong, nagdala po yan ng mga pagulan, mostly dito sa ibabang bahagi at dun sa areas na malapit sa center nito. Na-spare po yung Metro Manila sa mga damaging winds at sa mga malawakang pagulan na possible nating matanggap dahil nga mas mababa yung dinaanan nitong bagyong Opong. So comparatively, mas less yung damage nitong Opong dito sa Metro Manila compared sa bagyong Ondoy.
So can we expect, Alvin, na bubuti na ang lagay ng panahon bukas since nakalabas na ng Philippine landmass? Itong si Opong, currently, nandun na siya sa sea, over the, I guess, West Philippine Sea, South China Sea area, or wala na naman tong chance na mag-U-turn at bumalik?
Yes, yun. Wala na pong chance yan na mag-recurve or mag-U-turn dahil wala naman tayong nakikitang ibang weather system na possible na maka-apekto dito. Unless yung ating high pressure area ay humina. Pero ngayon, yung ating high pressure area nga ang nagpasubsob dyan at nagpababa at nagpakilos dyan pa westward. Sa ngayon, yan po ay bumibilis pa ang pagkilos at unti-unti nang lumayo sa ating landmass or ating mga kalupaan. Nandito na ngayon, dito sa may area ng West Philippine Sea. As of now, ang mga areas na dating dinaanan ng bagyong Opong, ang Bicol Region, ang Eastern Visayas, ang malaking bahagi ng Visayas, actually pati yung areas ng Mindanao, at kasama na rin po dyan ang ilang parts ng Calabarzon, yung eastern part nito, is nababawasan na yung ating mga pagulan. Dahil habang kumikilos, palayo, itong bagyong Opong, sinasama niya sa kanya yung ating moisture o yung mga pagulan na associated sa kanya. Pero dito sa mga areas ng Mimaropa, meron pa rin tayong mga heavy rains dyan dahil medyo malapit pa naman yung bagyong Opong at hindi pa yan tuluyang nakakalayo. Sa Metro Manila rin, medyo cloudy pa yung ating panahon at meron pa rin tayong mga possible na scattered at kalat-kalat na pagulan. Maging dito sa area ng Cavite, Batangas at Laguna, kasama na po dyan ang ibang parts ng Central Luzon. Pero bukas, if mas malayo na po ang bagyong Opong, nandiyan na po yan sa may West Philippine Sea, mostly yung kanyang mga pagulan at yung ating habagat ay pupunta rin sa kanya. So relatively, mas maganda na po yung panahon natin sa malaking bahagi ng ating bansa bukas at magpapatuloy pa yan sa darating na Sunday. Pero nangyayari pa rin yung ating mga afternoon showers at thunderstorms. Minsan, malakas na pagulan pa rin po yan, lalong-lalo na kapag meron tayong thunderstorms.
Okay, Alvin, yung una nating pinangangambahan nung padating si Opong dahil nga letter O din siya, katulad kay Ondoy, na sobrang daming dalang ulan. Yun yung una nating fear na maraming dalang ulan itong si Opong. Pero parang hindi siya masyado nagyari, although nag-anim siya na landfall. Did that have something to do with the fact na napahina niya yung bagyo? What happened there?
Okay, si Bagyong Opong, pag yung ating bagyo dumadaan talaga sa Visayas or sa mas mababang parts ng Luzon, mga islands kasi yan So nag-expect talaga tayo ng multiple landfalls. Ang implication yan, hindi naman agad humihina yung bagyo natin dahil meron pa tayong mga parts na tubig dyan. So nakakakuha pa rin yan ng moisture. So nung dumaan si Opong dito sa mga isla, sa may areas ng Mimaropa, hindi natin nakitaan niya ng significant na paghina, nanatili yan as a severe tropical storm. Pero yung kanyang mga pagulan ay mostly nga nandito sa baba. So nandun sa, nasa area po ng habagat or nandito sa southwest na component na ating hangin. Pero yung ating mga bagyo po ay hindi natin, yung ating mga bagyo parang fingerprint yan. So wala siyang exactly magiging magkatulad. May nagkakahawig, pero again, wala pong magkatulad or magkaparehas na magkaparehas. So comparing to Ondoy, ito pong si Opong, hindi siya, actually halos same yung kanilang strength, pero yung kanyang moisture na dala-dala ay hindi po ganun karami. Although ngayon September, meron kasi tayong tinatawag na iba pang factors para magkaroon tayo ng malakas na pag-ulan or malawak ang pag-ulan sa mga bagyong dumadaan sa atin. Yung kagaya po ng tinatawag natin MJO o Madden-Julian Oscillation. Ngayon po, hindi siya ganun ka-active compared nung mga panahon. Actually, last September, nung last month, nung nagkaroon tayo ng habagat na halos 1 week, active yung ating tinatawag na MJO, Madden-Julian Oscillation. Ngayon, hindi siya ganun ka-active, kaya hindi rin ganun ka-dami yung pag-ulan nitong Opong.
Pero Alvin, malakas ang hangin na dala ni Opong kumpara sa ulan. Tama ba?
Yes, Ma'am Ces, malakas yung hangin na dala-dala ng bagyong Opong, particularly doon sa mga areas na nasa gitna. Medyo maliit lang yung damaging winds natin. Pero again, concentrated siya doon sa mga areas na gitna. At kung mapapansin nyo, yung mga videos na lumalabas ngayon sa mga areas na nadaanan ng bagyong Opong, sa Bisaya, sa Masbate, sa Romblon at sa Mindoro, nakikita natin yung mga damage na na-create nung kanyang malalakas na bugso ng hangin. Yun nga yung ating, nandun yung tinatawag nating maximum sustained winds at gustiness. Although compact siya, naging destructive pa din siya doon particularly sa dinadaanan ng center ng bagyong Opong. At again, yung nandun yung ating damaging winds pero yung ating pinaka-diameter ng bagyo ay umabot sa 900 kilometers. So extended yung ating hangin. At kahit ngayon dito sa Metro Manila, pag lumabas po kayo, mararamdaman natin yung mga breezy at kuminsan, meron din mga gusty o pabugso-bugsong hangin. Although hindi ganun karami yung ulan, extended yung hangin niya hanggang southern part ng Northern Luzon, Central Luzon, kasama dyan ng Metro Manila, nag-extend pa yan sa ngayon dito sa Bicol Region dahil papalayo na nga itong bagyong Opong at ilang parts ng Mimaropa area at maging dito sa area ng Western Visayas. So comparatively, magkaiba sila ng characteristics ng Ondoy para sa hazards o damage na nadala sa atin. Ito mostly sa mga malalakas na hangin na particular do sa mga areas na nadaanan ng kanyang center o gitna. Si Ondoy naman, ravaging na malalakas or napakaraming ulan na dinala compared sa hangin na dala-dala nito.
Alvin, Ano naman ang binabantayan natin? Meron bang bumabadyang dumating dyan? Dahil nasa number 15 pa lang tayo, no?
Sa
di ba
kasamaang
ang
palad,
expectation, ilan ba? Hanggang 20?
nag-average tayo ng 21 or 20, around 20, 19 to 20 bagyo na pumapasok at nabubuong bagyo sa loob ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility. Sa kasamaang palad, Ma'am Ces, meron tayong binabantayan na namang cloud cluster o grupo ng kaulapan dito sa eastern section ng ating bansa. Kung mapapansin nyo, paglayo ng bagyong Opong, gaganda yung ating panahon. Pero itong mga kaulapan na ito, magta-travel muli yan dito sa East Philippine Sea. So magkakaroon po yan ng possible na paglakas in the next few days at possible pong umabot yung mga kaulapan na yan sa atin. So moving system yan at babantayan natin yan in the next few days. Possible yan na mag-recurve or umabot din sa ating mga landmass or kalupaan by midweek or hanggang sa susunod na linggo. So,
saan naman kaya siya, anong ruta tatahakin nito, Alvin? Kasi alam natin, pag Burr months, medyo nasa ibang lugar, no? Actually, closer to December, lalo na yung mga Burr months, end of the year, pababa yung tama. Usually, Mindanao ang tinatamaan pag December. So, itong panibagong namumuong bagyo, saan siya posibleng tumama? Saan dapat maging alerto yung mga Pilipino? Which part of the country?
yes, Sean, dahil nga sa malaking or malawak na high pressure area dito sa itaas na bahagi ng ating bansa, yan po ang nagpasubsob dito sa bagyong Opong. Pero itong binabantayan nating low pressure area, ngayon napakalayo pa po niyan at medyo mataas siya nag-start. Mas mababang nag-start itong si Opong. Sa ngayon, medyo mataas siya ng konti. Usually, ang takbo ng bagyo is recurve pataas unless walang ibang weather system na nakaka-apekto nito, kagaya ng mga high pressure area at ibang bagyo. Itong binabantayan natin sama ng panahon, probably is in-expect din natin mag-recurve. If bumaba pa yan ng konti, may possibility pa yung umabot dito sa Central at Northern Luzon. Pero ngayon nga is medyo malayo pa po ito at isa pang mahinang weather system, which is ang characteristics ng mga ganyang low pressure system pa lamang is erratic ang movement, ang pagkilos at ang lakas niyan dahil nga medyo mahina pa yan. So malawak pa yung ating uncertainty. Pero by now, meron tayong mga possible na puntahan yan mula dito sa Luzon, Southern Luzon area, hanggang dito sa extreme Northern Luzon dahil banda dito po yan magsisimula. So pa-recurve pa rin, northwestward yung ating inaasahang posibleng puntahan itong ating binabantayang sama ng panahon. At yan nga ibabantayan natin in the next few days sa possible development nito dahil dadaan nga yan dito sa may Philippine Sea, which is ang tawag dyan, medyo kilala sa characteristics nito na mainit yung temperatura. So, kilala po yan sa nagpapalakas talaga ng mga weather system natin at nagiging bagyo nga yung ating mga binabantay, mga cloud cluster kapag dumadaan dito sa eastern section ng ating bansa. Sean?
Okay, maraming salamat. Alvin Pura, News 5's Weather Frontliner. Sean, you're already practicing your anticipatory action.
Yes, I am. And for everyone else also.
True. Well, so far, more than 400,000 families have evacuated due to the onslaught of Opong. Let's get more updates from the Office of Civil Defense Deputy Administrator, ASEC Rafi Alejandro. ASEC, welcome to the Big Story.
Yes, good evening, Tess, and good evening, Sean. Magandang gabi po.
Tell us, how many casualties have you confirmed as of now?
For validation pa rin ito, but we received reports that there are already 10 reported dead. 7 dito ay from Region 8 at meron 3 from Region 5. So yung sa Region 8, this is from Biliran. Basically, dahil sa flash flood ito and storm surge. Yung sa Masbate naman, sa Region 5, yung because of fallen tree, collapse wall, and drowning. And meron pa rin tayong for validation, 13 reported missing individuals, 10 sa Region 8, and 3 sa Mimaropa or sa Region 4B. Specifically from Puerto Princesa na hinahanap pa as of today, as we speak.
Which areas were the most affected by the typhoon?
As far as our assessment as of this evening, Masbate po. Masbate City ay pinaka-hardest hit so far kasi we've seen from reports and pictures na grabe ang epekto nito sa Masbate City, including the islands of Ticao and Burias. So doon po, kailangan po kaagad ng assistance doon in terms of restoring yung kanilang power lines, kasi marami pong mga poles na natumba kasama na rin yung mga maraming bahay na nasira na nakita natin per initial report. So doon pa rin, but we are not discounting na yung dinaanan ng mga isla, mga provinces ng Romblon, Mindoro, and yung Marinduque ay pwede ring magkaroon ng substantial damage. So but for now, Masbate pa rin po ang nakikita nating hardest hit.
Gaano pong kataas yung storm surge na naranasan ng mga isla natin at saka yung coastal areas?
Based sa aming reports, no, and then sa forecast na rin, nasa 2 to 3 meters kasi ang inaasahang storm surge na tatama doon sa mga dadaanan ng bagyo. So yun po ang nilabas nating warning, and we will validate kung talagang umabot sa ganong kataas. But again, itong casualty lalo na sa biliran ay na-report sa atin because of the storm surge.
Okay, and alam natin that there were a lot of preparations made before the onslaught of Opong. Sir, kamusta naman po, kumbaga, nag-bear fruit naman ito, and were we able to minimize? Kamusta po yung assessment niyo sa ating anticipatory response?
Opo, we were able to minimize yung mga casualties or damage in terms of, lalo na sa casualties, kasi ang na-preemptively evacuated natin ay halos sa 100,000 families or close to 400,000 individuals. So, yung ating mga early warning system, yung ating pagpapatupad ng preemptive ay nakatulong ito, and we are very grateful sa lahat ng mga communities na tumugon at sumunod sa mga abiso na binigay po ng ating mga authorities.
Yung mga na-evacuate po na 100,000 families are still in the evacuation centers. Sapat
Yes.
po ba ang supply and relief items?
Yes po. As we speak, no, we are still operating around 800 evacuation centers, at nandyan pa po close to 50,000 na individuals, no. Yung iba diyan preemptively evacuated. But sapat yung ating mga food items galing sa DSWD. Yung ating medical supplies ay naka-ready yan in case na kailangan. And all the resources of government ay nakahanda naman. Ito na rin ay dahil na rin sa kautusan ng ating Pangulo, no, si Pangulong Marcos, na dapat the whole of national government ay dapat ma-mobilize at gamitin lahat ng mga resources para i-assist or magkaroon ng tulong doon sa mga affected communities.
Kamusta naman po yung mga linya ng kuryente, linya ng mga telco, at pati na rin po yung mga stranded na pasahero, na start na po ba sila makagalaw ulit at makauwi?
Opo, in terms of kuryente, yun nga, no, very challenging pa yan ngayon, lalo na sa Masbate at some parts of Samar, kasi i-restore pa yan ngayon kasi maraming ang natumbang poles. Kaya po nag-mobilize po ang ating Department of Energy ng restoration teams, no? Doon na manggagaling sa mga areas na hindi masyado apektado, ipapadala ito sa Region 5 and sa Region 8 para matulungan at mabilis na ma-restore yung power kasi marami pong power lines na natumba. And then yung mga stranded po, as of today, ngayong gabi, meron pa pong signal yung areas, kaya wala pa pong pinapayagang sea travel, no? So hopefully, as the weather improves tomorrow, itong mga stranded natin ay mababawasan na yan. But of course, depending on the weather. But again, we are assured by Pag-asa na tomorrow naman, starting tomorrow hanggang Sunday, ay mag-i-improve na yung ating weather condition dito sa mga dinaanan ng bagyo po.
Saan po naman kayo nakakakita, Asek, ng problema o hamon?
Oo, ang hamon natin kasi itong dinaanan ng mga bagyo ngayon ay mga isla, yung pagdadalang tulong po kasi we are hampered by yung ating limitation in terms of bringing the logistics sa mga isla na ito. So ngayon po, we have ready goods from mainland Bicol papuntang Masbate, but we are hampered because of the weather, at saka kailangan i-travel pa ito by sea or by air, no? Para makaabot yung tulong. Ganon din sa mga isla, island provinces natin sa Mimaropa, yung Romblon, Mindoro. Yun lang po ang challenge. But good for us po, nagkaroon naman ng prepositioning doon sa mga areas na yan ng mga food items. Kaya naka-ready po ang ating DSWD. If ever po na magdala kami doon, ay replenishment na lang po ito. para po sa next and augmentation. Ang challenge na lang ngayon is yung mga housing materials, housing repair kits, no, na kailangan din nila. Yun po ang priority na mapadala doon sa mga islang ito.
All right, we thank you for the update. ASEC Rafi Alejandro, Deputy Administrator of the Office of Civil Defense.
Right, we're just going to take a very quick break, but coming right up, House Speaker Boji D gives Congressman Zaldy Co until Monday to return to the Philippines or face more trouble. That and more when the big story returns. Keep it here.
The big story is back with House Speaker Boji D's ultimatum to Ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldy Co. This time, D gave Co until Monday, September 29, to return to the Philippines or face possible disciplinary, even legal actions. The Speaker issued the deadline in response to Co's letter. Co said he was saddened by D's move to revoke his travel clearance, saying this would deprive him of time needed for his medical treatment abroad. The embattled lawmaker also implied that D could have been pressured to restrict his travel. Co also denied allegations of insertions in the 2025 national budget, receiving kickbacks from flood control projects, and owning the aircraft that flew former President Duterte to The Hague. He also rebuffed accusations that he sought fish import allocations. Co said he has nothing to hide and intends to return to the Philippines to face these allegations, but asked the House leadership to ensure his and his family's safety. Congressman D gave Co that assurance and promised to coordinate with authorities about this concern. The Speaker has also referred Co's letter to the Ethics Committee, where a complaint against the lawmaker is pending. Meanwhile, the Justice Department continues to track Zaldy Co's whereabouts. Secretary Boying Remulla today said they will seek a blue notice for Co with the Interpol. Remulla also said they have received information that Co is now in France.
Pag sinabi pong blue notice, ano lang po?
Ano yan? To give us information on their whereabouts and how they're going about their business. Ano yan? Para person of interest yan sa because the Interpol is being notified that they are subjects of an investigation, of criminal investigation. As a European. Spain? Spain or France. A lot of text messages are coming in that he's in France.
Well, it's been a week since the Independent Commission for Infrastructure opened its investigation into alleged irregularities in flood control projects. And tonight we talked to its newly appointed Executive Director and Spokesperson, Brian Hosaka. Thank you for joining us here on The Big Story, Attorney.
Good evening, Ces. Good evening, Shawn. Good evening to all your viewers.
First of all, sir, describe your job as Executive Director. Aside from, being the spokesperson, what other tasks do you have?
Well, actually, under the executive order which created the ICI, or the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, I'm tasked to provide I'm the secretariat, at the same time provide technical assistance to the commission. Aside from that, my mandate is to implement the decisions and the policies of the commission, and at the same time be responsible for the day-to-day operations of the ICI.
May we ask also how you were approached for the job, or did you apply? How did you land this huge responsibility?
I used to be with the Governance Commission for GOCCs, and I've been with the government for the past 6 years already. So I guess somebody floated my name there, and I got appointed as Executive Director of the ICI. And perhaps my background being the former spokesperson of the Supreme Court, at the same time my background now on on governance, because that's my previous job before as commissioner of the GCG, wherein we monitor in the performance of the GOCCs to make sure that everything's above board. So I guess with my background in organization, at the same time being the spokesperson before of Supreme Court, would probably help the ICI reach out to the public and tell them what the ICI is doing.
And that's exactly what I wanted to ask you, Attorney Hosaka. How often can we expect you to give press cons? Are you planning to do it on a, scheduled basis, weekly basis? How would that work?
Hi, Sean. Yeah, perhaps that's something that we'd have to discuss as commission, because as much as possible, whenever I probably appear in public, we would want to give you sufficient information, perhaps important information, which would be of interest to the public. So probably that would have to be taken up by the commission.
Does the commission plan to hold public hearings?
Yes, that's one of the things that we discussed. No, it was my first day today, and fresh out of the GCG. That's a balancing thing. The commission wants it to remain independent, at the same time objective and fair to everybody. We don't want the commission to be used for any political leverage or agenda by any group or individual. So that the commission will become deliberate, at the same time surgical, meaning all information, probably statements by our resource persons will have to be studied, reviewed, and probably confirmed. Because as I said earlier, we cannot take the testimony or the statement of any single individual as gospel truth.
Right.
These things would have to be verified, because we're dealing with an important matter. And at the same time, whenever we do, the mandate of the ICI is to recommend two things. Number one is the filing of actions to those who may be responsible responsible for these anomalous projects. And at the same time, we know for a fact that there was a breakdown in the system. The ICI will look into that also. So we have to be very careful with our recommendation, at the same time with our findings. So we cannot be haphazard in filing cases, and later on it'll be dismissed left or right.
Yeah.
Because if that happens, we have failed.
Yeah, it's also quite a difficult balance. I mean, we've
Right.
seen the TRICOM, of course, everything is live streamed. The Blue Ribbon Committee, everything is live streamed. So some people say, this gives people kind of a heads up if they want to hide some assets, take out, whatever. So can we expect that? Because people have gotten used to watching these live streams. They eagerly await this. So
Yeah.
parang
That's
biglang...
why, Sean, I'm wondering, was his answer yes or no?
Yeah. may
It
ganun
was
ba?
rather a long answer on the
Pardon me, I
public
didn't get
hearing.
the
So
question.
you are saying you'd rather not.
Live stream. Attorney.
Tama ba?
Yes, until perhaps the commission would be dealing with things wherein actually it's facts already. But right now we're investigating. Investigating means these statements will still have to be verified. So it's a very dangerous thing if we live stream it, and at the same time people might be misled. And there's a possibility that happens, and we would like to prevent that, because we want the people to trust in the system, trust in the in the independent commission, that we will be doing our jobs fairly, objectively, and independently. Rest assured that whenever we do find sufficient grounds to recommend the filing of any criminal action, civil or administrative actions against any individual or group which may be responsible for these anomalies, then we will file it with the proper agencies. And perhaps that's the time when we can divulge to the public our findings. You can see the findings and the basis why we have recommended such action. It's going to be...
The Commission has signed several agreements with various government agencies to provide assistance. Do you see the need for a stronger commission through legislation passed to give it, for instance, subpoena powers or more powers needed to go after all these people who benefited from this corrupted system?
Well, right now, the ICI, I believe, has sufficient powers and authority to do its job. But at the same time, if there's going to be any legislation, it's a policy thing. If Congress would want to enact a law giving more powers to the ICI, then it's their prerogative. It's a policy thing. But as far as the ICI is concerned, we will comply with our mandate, given the authority and the powers already mentioned in the executive order.
For instance, if you want to summon a person and the person has the prerogative to, ignore it because wala naman kayong subpoena powers, will you use the DOJ or the NBI instead to do this task for you? Ganun ba yun? Does it work that way?
So far, everybody has been cooperative, I believe. Every time that we invite someone, they would go and they would testify and give their statements. However, if there's a time where, obviously, if you read the executive order, there's no contempt powers. The remedy there would be going to the courts, filing an indirect contempt proceedings. And that's the only time that we can cite them for contempt, the courts at that time. But in the meantime, we do receive our resource persons, our witnesses. And so far, no one has denied our invitation or refused our invitation.
How often do you guys meet? I know you're kind of like the quote-unquote managing partner, so day-to-day tasks, it's up to you. You're like the operations guy there. But how does this work? Do all members of the ICI meet every day, Monday to Friday, like regular office hours? Or like, for example, did you have to leave your post with the Governance Commission and the GOCCs?
I would suppose
Yes,
so.
I had to leave that position to be full-time here in the ICI as its executive director. And as far as the day-to-day operations is concerned, yes, they did meet. They meet every day. That's, I assure you, they do meet every day. Sometimes they leave late at night. And most often, not sometimes, most often they leave late at night, especially the chairman, Justice Andy Reyes, was been working very hard for the commission. As far as the hearings are concerned, I believe they had not a free day, but they stopped the testimonies or hearings first for yesterday and today. But they will resume, I believe, their hearings on Monday.
Now, I know it's too early to give a timeline, but in the protest action last September 21, the public said if something has to happen before the end of the year, there must be some accountability established. Is that is that before the end of the year, is that something that can be achieved by the ICI?
Perhaps if you say accountable in the sense that cases will be filed in the proper agencies or authority, I think it's happening now.
Okay.
As far as the ICI is concerned, we're in infancy stage, so to speak. Where it's also my task to come up with an organizational structure and staffing pattern, which I believe is very crucial within the next weeks, because that's the only time that we can really say that we're running like a well-oiled machine. Right now, we only have the 3 commissioners, and despite of that, with a couple of their staff helping them out, they were able to do and to conduct these hearings. So first things first, we have to have a complete staff to help out the commission to be more efficient, to be faster. Now, with regard to whether or not we'll be able to achieve that mandate within the end of the year, we are hopeful. In fact, that's why I personally, and perhaps the commission also, would like to appeal to the public. We're trying to be deliberate. We're working hard. We know the clamor of the Filipinos, and and when we hear them loud and clear. And because of that, it gives us direction. So rest assured, and we plead to the public. I know it's hard, but we all have to follow this system. This is the first step to be able to and to provide for reforms and to prevent a repeat of these anomalous projects, or probably the web of corruption which is besetting the country. The problem, it seems, if you listen to the testimonies, this is a huge. It's a web of, in fact, it's a web of corruption probably, and it will take time for us to chip away and untangle that mess.
Actually, I wanted to...
Yes.
Go ahead. So I wanted to ask you, because you're right, it's a very lean team with a very gargantuan task, and there's like a handful of you guys. You mentioned that you're tasked also to fill up the plantilla. How will that go? Are you guys handpicking? Are you going to open it to applicants?
Well, it depends. No? Depends on the direction of the. We do have applicants. You'll be surprised. There are people who would want to have the commission, and we're very thankful for that. But of course, we have to pick the right people, because it's a complicated thing.
Yeah.
We need accountants, we need engineers, we need, of course, lawyers, because it's hard. I mean, personally, whenever you do an ocular inspection, perhaps of particular projects, you have to make sure that whatever you get from that ocular inspection would be admissible in court. It's not enough that you go there. You have rules of evidence to follow. So the lawyers would have to be there to guide these investigators to make sure that whatever evidence, whatever documents they get on the ground will be admissible in evidence, and thereafter filed in. And the cases will not just be dismissed left and right.
Right.
So we have to be deliberate, and I hope that especially the media would be able to reach out to the public and explain to them that this is a process, this is a legal process, so that we will bring those who are responsible for this to justice.
Right.
Because we don't want them getting scot-free for their actions.
There has been some criticism for the ICI's consultant, Mayor Magalong. Has that been raised, and how do you propose to address this?
I'm sorry, I'm not. I'm not knowledgeable of that concerns yet. So perhaps I'll ask what would be those concerns, and probably let you know after I discuss the commission.
Okay, well, it is all over social media in case you want to take a browse later, Attorney Osaka. But of course, you've also inked a partnership with the Integrated Bar of the Philippines. So all lawyers, basically in the Philippines, have offered their help to you guys. This is, of course, for drafting cases, filing cases, which cases to file, et cetera, et cetera. How is this partnership really going to work? Are you also going to be selecting carefully which lawyers exactly you're going to take on or ask to help?
Yes, of course. That would be a process again, as I told you earlier. We would have to pick the right lawyers also, not just anybody, probably with experience in criminal law and probably litigation, and perhaps also CPA lawyers. Yeah.
And if there's people thinking like, well, sino ba nagbabayad sa ICI na to? Diba? Are you under the executive? I know you're independent, but your funding has got to come from somewhere. So just to clear the air, with the budget and stuff, they might say, yung budget yan galing sa ganyan, so they're going to be under this. What would you have to say, just to reaffirm the trust of the people in this Independent Commission for Infrastructure?
Well, definitely, if we have to be functioning, we need funding. So I believe there's a fund. As I think I need to talk to Secretary Pangandaman about this. But I think she already explained that it's going to be coming from a particular fund. I just want to be sure what particular fund that is, because are familiar with that already. So I'll discuss it with her. What I have discussed with her initially was the plantilla.
Magkano yung
But
kailangan ninyo?
we need funds to make this commission
Right.
go. Yeah.
Yes. How long do you foresee you'll be working here?
Well, initially, probably the task is really enormous. Right now, we have to see the quote unquote the universe. What we need to look into. It's really like a complete audit. We have to know what went wrong. We have to study the process of how these projects were planned, were financed, and implemented, and that is complicated. That's why we're very thankful that former Secretary of the DPWH, Babe Singson, is on board because he knows the department. He led the department at the time,
Yeah.
so that will make it easier for us. He can be our guide on this matter. Yeah.
So this will probably take over a year. 2 years.
Yes, according to the EO, Executive Order 994, there's a sunset clause there. It will wind down once our mandate is completed. But rest assured, I assure the public that we're fast tracking everything. We want this done because we hear the clamor, we hear the voice of the Filipinos. We're not blind, we're not deaf. We saw the rallies and their concerns last September 21, and when we hear them loud and clear.
The best of luck to you. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
ICI Executive Director and Spokesperson, Attorney Brian Hosaka.
We're pausing for another breather, but when we return, the National Bureau of Investigation makes another push for the prosecution of 21 people that includes 3 senators. That is, over their supposed involvement in questionable government deals. The details when we return. Stay tuned.
Gawad Kalinga founder Tony Meloto's life work and legacy now in peril. He's accused of sex trafficking by 2 of his former male students. Saint? Sinner? Or a mere man who, like everyone else, has battles to fight? Listen to the stories of his accusers and defenders in and outside the place where the sexual abuse supposedly happened. This is Enchanted, not a fairy tale. Catch it on Saturday, September 27 at 7:30 p.m. only on One News. All sides, all the time. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us here on The Big Story. The National Bureau of Investigation has recommended the prosecution of 21 people for their alleged involvement in anomalous infrastructure projects. They face possible charges of graft, bribery, and malversation of public funds. Among those named were Senators Francis Chis Escudero, Joel Villanueva, and Jinggoy Estrada. Former Senator Bong Revilla, Ako Bicol Representative Zaldy Co, and former Caloocan Representative Mary Mitzi Calayon Uy were also named. The list also includes former DPWH officials Roberto Bernardo, Henry Alcantara, Bryce Erickson Hernandez, JP Mendoza, and several private individuals identified in the investigation. The Department of Justice said the recommendation is based on the sworn testimonies of Bernardo, Alcantara, Hernandez, and Mendoza. However, other names mentioned during the Senate hearings, like former House Speaker Martin Romualdez, former Senator Nancy Binay, and COA Commissioner Mario Lipana, were not part of the NBI's recommendation. As for now, those who are under protected witness status but were still included in the case build-up, DOJ Secretary Remulla had this explanation.
Maraming parameters na kailangan i-consider habang sila'y papasok sa program. Tsaka yung sinasabi kong restitution is a very important part of it. It's a condition that we are setting forth for anybody to really enter as a state witness.
In related news, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is moving to freeze additional bank accounts linked to controversial flood control projects. So far, the BSP has frozen over 700 accounts with a value exceeding 5 billion pesos. The details in this exclusive report by Kathy Yang.
In an exclusive interview on One News, Bangko Sentral Governor Eli Remolona expressed a deep shock at the extent of the flood control corruption scandal.
It was worse than we thought, but I think it will get better. This flood control scandal was as much of a shock to us as it was to you. But we're working hard to fix things.
What in particular shocked you most?
The scale of it, the amounts involved, we had no idea. We had no idea. I mean, you and I, we knew there was corruption all along, right? But not on this scale. Not on this scale.
And not on the scale that 1 billion pesos could be stuffed into luggages and brought to homes inside cars.
Yeah, and the sight of piles of cash on a table, that's kind of shocking, no? That I didn't know. This was all done in cash and in such amounts. So that is shocking.
The BSP has since issued a circular last September 19, limiting the value of large cash transactions per day to 500,000 pesos, or its equivalent.
We want it to make it more difficult for the contractors, for the guys involved in this flood control mess, to be able to take money out of the banks. We just realized that all these transactions are done in cash.
It's a move that has angered netizens and the public alike, calling it a hassle, especially for businesses and individuals with legitimate needs amounting to 500,000 pesos per day.
Alam namin yun. Kaya pwedeng kausapin yung bangko, sabihin mo kung bakit mo kailangan yung cash, and then the bank can allow cash. If you justify the use of cash, you should be able to get cash.
Could you give us justifications that would pass the mental?
Well, we understand that there are businesses that are really cash-based, and I think banks also know that. So the businessman can come to a bank and say, I need cash, more than 500,000 pesos, and this is why I need the cash, and the bank will understand that.
Remolona confirms the BSP has begun its inquiries with banks to find out how big sums ended up in the wrong hands. As it's been done in cash, might there be maybe an inquiry into how the financial system or maybe even banks had something to do about how the cash was sourced? I mean, what kind of inquiries are you now making within the financial system?
We're making a lot of inquiries. We're finding out we're trying to identify the big flows of cash throughout the financial systems, the unusually large flows of cash. But not just cash, any financial transaction that looks unusual, we're trying to analyze.
And what have you found so far? Is it coming more from the government financial institutions, more private, or a combination of both?
I think more from the government financial institutions. And that makes sense because it's government money, so it would go through the government financial institutions. So that's what we've seen so far.
While Remolona expects the BSP to freeze more assets in question, he assures the public the financial system is secure.
So we've frozen over 700 accounts so far. We're looking at more accounts to freeze. So that does affect liquidity in general. But our banks are very, very liquid at this point. I think I can say that with confidence. No bank runs.
The Monetary Board is due to decide on policy next on October 9. Until then, Remolona and the board will have to keep a close eye on how the investigation pans out. Kathy Yang, We Are One News.
President Marcos has announced that he will realign 36 billion pesos in public works funds initially meant for flood control to the Social Welfare Department. A large portion of this will be used for the 4Ps or the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program. Other programs that will benefit from this realignment include AICS or the Assistance to, or AIC, is that AIC? The Assistance to Individuals in Crisis Situations, as well as programs to help poor Filipinos pay for emergency operations and maintenance medicines. Separately, the House of Representatives said it will redirect 12 billion pesos to implement the free college law as announced by Appropriations Chair Micaela Suwansing. The amount was what state universities and colleges said they lacked in order to fully implement the law. Armed Forces Chief Romeo Browner admitted that the loyalty of the AFP was tested by last Sunday's protests against corruption. In his column on the Philippine Daily Inquirer, published September 23rd, or 2 days after the rallies, Browner wrote, "I heard the chants, saw the passion in people's eyes, and felt the same fury burn in the hearts of our soldiers. Corruption enrages us all. It cuts deeper for the soldier who risks life and limb for the country." But Browner said, quote, "The demonstrations tested who we are as an institution, whether we would remain true to our constitutional mandate or yield to calls to take sides in political struggles."
The AFP chief further revealed that some retired officers tried to convince them to turn against the government. But Browner insists that not a single soldier raised arms against another. And that in the end, quote, "We stood by our duty, not to any political faction, but to the Constitution, the Republic, and the Filipino people." Meantime, the Department of National Defense continued to insist that the supposed coup or destabilization plot is a lie, is outrightly preposterous, and achieves nothing other than to create confusion. It further warned the public that these reports are just vile and malicious fabrications. All right, for our big picture on this Friday night, we have Portugal's capital city of Lisbon ranking as the happiest city to visit in the world. Celebrated for its abundant sunshine, walkable streets, and health-conscious culinary scene, the city of light outshined Paris, Tokyo, and New York in a ranked study by booking platform Book Retreats. Lisbon's walkability is renowned for lifting the city's mood. It is also an ideal place to unwind for nature lovers, as the city's urban area is nearly 4 times larger than Madrid's. Though Manila's not in the list, other cities like Helsinki in Finland and Orlando in the US also scored a spot in the top 3. I have to give a disclaimer.
I don't want to bash ourselves, but Manila, oh.
But Lisbon, though, like walkable, really it will lift your heart rate because it's very, very much uphill.
They're steep.
It's very steep. I mean,
but
yeah.
I have to point out, kasi may pag-asa pa sigurong Manila, because remember, Portugal before was debt-ridden.
Yes.
It had so much problems, and look.
It was the headache of the EU.
Diba?
Yeah.
And then look at Lisbon now, number 1.
It is number 1. Sobrang daming digital nomads.
Yeah.
You know, it's relatively cheaper than the major European cities. The weather is so good. Ayun lang, maraming uphill. So,
Kaya
hihingalin ka.
maraming, ano ba yun, golden visa holders din dyan.
Digital nomad visa. So, marami-raming tao from all over the world.
So, may pag-asa pa rin. I mean, that turnaround is possible.
Yes, hope
right?
springs eternal.
Yeah. So, that's the big story this week. Thank you for watching.
We Are One News, all sides, all the time.
We'll be back here Monday at 7:30 as usual. Good night. Have a safe and warm weekend, and hopefully dry.